Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Ellie and I am 11 months on low dose testosterone. Woo-hoo. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, if you haven't seen any of my videos, I'm a non-binary person, which means I don't really see myself as male or female, and I'm taking low dose testosterone for the purpose of aligning my body with how I feel inside. Yeah, I know, that line. Okay, so I've been on 16 milligrams of testosterone applied daily for the last 10 months, and I've gone on 25 last month, right after the last update. So I've been on 25 milligrams, which is like the standard low dose of testosterone, for a month now. And I'm gonna do a short update. And because I had already recorded this video 6 or 7 times and it's been over an hour just repeating the same text, I'm not going to go into anything beyond that this time. I do, however, promise that I will record and upload a little bit about, do I feel like I'm trans or not? Okay, so really short update. I don't have much to say except I don't feel changes. I don't feel like I've gotten any hairier. I don't feel like I've gotten any stronger. Like, mind me taking my shirt off. That's me. Yeah, let's get up there. Yeah, this is my body. Da, 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 da. I know. I gained a bunch of weight recently. Sorry about that. I gained a bunch of weight recently. Some of it good weight, some of it bad weight. I just haven't been spot on with nutrition. Okay, so other updates and changes. I'm not even going to do the TMI stuff because I feel like there haven't been any TMI changes to speak of. As far as other stuff, I guess because my dosage has been so gradual that I don't really feel like anything has gone radically different with being on 25 milligrams. I don't feel lethargic. I don't feel more energetic. I don't feel like I sleep more. I don't feel like I can't sleep, or I don't feel anxious. I don't have mood swings that I'm aware of. I can either say that either I'm the most like non-self-conscious person in the whole world and I just don't know what's going on with me and I'm not aware at all, or I just don't feel different. Okay, I really want a voice drop. I want my voice to drop to be lower, and when I hit that, I'm gonna go back on a lower dosage of testosterone. Also, like, I kind of want my body to change a little bit more to the masculine, everything that entails, except maybe growing a beard and being bald. But that's not happening very fast, so I'm gonna take my chances and just go on a slightly or much higher dose of 25 milligrams for as long as it takes to get a voice drop. It might be 2 months, it might be 6. Okay, pardon me being a little bit impatient because I've just recorded half an hour of babble and deleted it. Okay, alright, so that's basically all I have to say that's not TMI. I'm gonna go ahead and say the TMI stuff. When I go like that, just unmute the video. So if you're family, if you know me, if we wouldn't be talking about this unless you saw it online, mute the video, please. Okay, so TMI stuff, let's talk about that. So mute. Now, mute. Okay, so TMI stuff. Let's see, libido, I have more of. It does correlate to the T dosage, so if you're gonna go on higher dose, you're gonna have more libido. You're gonna want to have sex more often. That's all it says. Okay, as far as menstruation hasn't changed for me since going on T, except I've had heavier bleeding. Don't know why. Not an endocrinologist. And what else? Yeah, it's always a little late for me. Like, instead of taking 28 days, my cycle is like 35 days or something, so it's always quote-unquote late, but it isn't actually. So I don't know the last time I got my period as per usual for me, but I guess we'll have to wait and see whether or not it happens on the 25 milligrams as well. Clitoral growth, bottom growth. Yeah, bottom growth is a thing. I feel like everyone going on T should at least Google that and see what it looks like before they actually go on T, because it's a big change and you got to be aware of that, and it's going to stick with you whether or not you stay on T. Like, it's a permanent change. I've had some. It also feels different. It feels like more sensitive. Um, yeah, I don't really want to go into details on that because that's really fucking personal. So that's as far as TMI goes. I do want to shortly address the "Am I trans?" Question, because I always talk about something other than just physical changes. So let me say right quick that to me, being transgender is more of how other people define me and less of how I see myself. Because it is a social identity, such as being a woman, such as being a man, I don't feel like the way I define myself is the whole thing. You know, I could say I was trans or wasn't trans until, 5 decades from now, but if nobody else accepts me as such, or if everybody else assumes me to be, then how much does my own identity really count in this social scheme of things? Yeah, I know. A lot of people think differently, and I will fight for anyone's right to define themselves. The only thing I'm saying is, for me personally, being trans isn't entirely a question of how I feel, but also a question of how I'm treated and identified by other people. So, everybody out there who sees themselves or don't see themselves as trans and feel strongly about that, you know what? I will totally fight for your right to define yourself as you want to be defined, but for me, I don't see it as the same thing. Okay. Alright, so I get asked a lot because I guess I give off the trans masculine vibe, you know? I look trans, I guess, to people who know what that looks like. And I either look like a real big lesbian or I look like a guy to other people. So I get asked a lot. Are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you transgender? Are you female to male? Are you transitioning? Are you butch? You know, I get these questions, so I might as well address them. Okay, the short answer would be, you tell me. And the long answer would be this. Okay, so according to one definition, gender, I'm sorry, being cisgender is being identified with the sex that you were assigned at birth. So if you were assigned a female sex at birth and you feel that you're female and you identify and align with that sex, then that's being cisgender. That just means you haven't had any transition thoughts and you're not transgender. However, on the contrary, if you're born as one gender and then feel like you are the other gender and wish to transition to that gender, that makes you transgender. That's one definition. The other definition is being transgender amounts to not identifying with the sex that you were assigned at birth. So if you were assigned a female birth and you don't identify as that sex, then you're transgender. That's a wider term. It usually includes like the non-binary genders. I feel like for me, you would have to add the quantifier, the identify fully, or identifies somewhat, or identified as and as the other gender for that to actually include me. So I guess I'm not binary, not just in the fact that I don't see myself as male or female, but also in relation to the definitions of being cis and trans. I find myself to be non-binary. And I'll let each of y'all decide for themselves whether or not that counts as trans, because I don't want to get into an argument about things I don't really feel strongly about, and I don't feel strongly about that. However, I do want to shout out to Vespa, who I'd like to think of as an online friend of mine. What do you say? We friends? I think we're friends. I would like to shout out to them for starting a discussion about the trans cis binary, and that's a great video. Might link it in the description. You should go ahead and watch that, and if you haven't, they really talk about that. That's great. So I'm not gonna go over what they said, but it's just a great educational video, and they let a lot of smart thoughts like bubble up there. Okay, so I'm hoarse because I've been talking for like an hour. Okay. And the other videos that you didn't get to see because I fucking deleted them. Oh god, what a Epic fail. Okay, so um, I do remember having thoughts and feelings about perhaps being a boy as young as 6 or 7 year old. And I remember putting them away. And I had learned to perform femininity. It was never my idea, but people always taught it to me, and I always consented and went along with that because I guess have that kind of character where I try to please people. My sister was a big, part of that. I have a sister that I really love and admire. She always wanted me to be a pretty girl, so I tried for her. And then I had always wanted to be good at things, and I guess I wanted to be good at being a girl too. And I took on that part, and I guess I was okay with dresses and makeup. I never volunteered for them, but I was okay with them. I was also okay with like bruised knees and holes in my pants and being a rough and tumble kind of tomboy kid. And I was always aggressive, and I was always like big and physical. And I was both these things at the same time as I am right now. I'm just layered. Um, and then growing up into a teenager, I guess I started to be a little bit weirder because I was always late to the trend. Like, I never picked up on the girl cues. I always just picked up on the boy cues. I taught myself to be a chauvinistic, misogynistic teen, like I taught myself to be an asshole basically because I always like picked on the boys' cues. Like I always tried to act like a boy, and then someone would like pick me up and correct me and go like, "You're not a boy. You should be doing this and that," or "That's masculine. Please don't do that." And I would stop doing that and try to do the feminine thing, whatever that was. But it is to this day that when I just do me, when I just act natural or what I think of as natural, then people tell me I'm being masculine. I don't know what to do with that. I don't even necessarily agree that it's masculine, my natural way of being. Just whatever. Okay, so like I really remember my sister sitting me down and telling me how to shave my legs and tell me how to pluck my eyebrows and that I needed to do these things. And I did genuinely remember like looking at the mirror with a friend who like a male friend at the age of 12 and wondering like which one of us is going to have bigger arms when we grow up, and I never like took into consideration that he was going to grow up to be a man and I wasn't, and that I wasn't going to get like superhero arms like I wanted. Surprise, I did get them, haha, but sorry about that. Like it never entered my mind that he was gonna grow and I wasn't, that I was gonna grow up to be a girl. Like I didn't think about that. I never had a mental image of myself as a woman, and I still really don't. Like when I imagine myself buying clothes or what I'm gonna look like in a particular clothes or clothing article, or when I try to sketch myself or something like that, where I have an image of my silhouette, it never has boobs and it never has a big ass, and it always has like big arms. And that's something, that's something. When you're 32, you should have like a mental image of yourself pretty much the way you actually are. Anyway, so that started when I was 12. Um, I always look at myself, even still in the mirror, and think, I haven't grown up. Like, I'm not an adult yet. I always have that feeling. Like, I haven't fully matured yet. Whatever that means. And when my breasts grew, it was kind of overnight. I had always felt disconnected with them. I had again been taught that they were beautiful, that they were, I was supposed to have them and they were beautiful and I should be proud of them. And so I did, I really let people tell me that being a woman is great and that I should love my female body. And I actually did. Like, I was taught a lot of feminism and a lot about being a woman and being feminine by other people, and I really accepted it. And I'm super proud of that I took on that enormous task of connecting with my body and loving it and accepting a feminine role and loving that too. And a lot of people don't do that, and I feel like it's great, and I put a lot of effort into that, and I wouldn't want to give it up ever for anything. However, I now come to realize that I might want my body to look different. I might still wear the occasional dress, but I kind of want a flat chest already. Anyways, yeah, so I had to actively be taught that I was feminine and how to do that, and I had to actively, consciously, very self-aware perform femininity. When I wasn't being self-aware and cognitively, mindful of that, I was just performing apparently masculinity. I've been told my entire life. And I have always been mistaken for a boy, and that's just the way it was. But I had long hair for periods. I had feminine clothing pretty much always in my closet. I never made like a big deal out of wearing feminine clothing. Okay, long story short, I was very obsessed with transgender representations and butch and gender deviant representations, but there just wasn't a lot of that going on in Israel in the 90s. Definitely not in the early 2000s, and I just only encountered that really when I had transgender friends, which is like the last 3 or 4 or 5 years at top. And that's when I really quickly realized that I had a lot in common with these people and that I might be trans myself. Okay, might be. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Apart from my very physical idea of wanting a more masculine body and feeling more aligned with a more masculine body, I don't care to define my inner feelings as feminine or masculine, I don't think that matters. I rather nobody would. But gender exists. La la la. Anyways, apart from wanting a more masculine physical presentation, I really don't have a lot to say about gender and what I feel my gender to be and feeling misgendered, etc., etc. The only thing that really makes me feel bad is when someone tells me you're a girl or you're a boy, when somebody tells me you are this gender and nothing else. That really bums me out, especially if I'm sleeping with that person and they see me as just one gender. That's kind of a bitch, and that's why I don't really sleep with a lot of people. Yeah, so that's that. You guys go ahead and tell me if you think I'm trans. I'm really curious to know after all this time debating the question. Yeah. Okay, great. I love you guys. I hope you have a great month and chat to me. Ciao.